Welcome to Toni Unleashed, the podcast where we unleash the truth about all things pets.
Our research and anecdotal evidence matched with pet expert interviews will help you help your pet thrive.
We are here to answer questions, divulge information, and spread awareness about what's really going on in the world of pets.
I am your co-host, Emily Taylor, pet nutrition enthusiast.
And I'm Toni Shalasky, owner of Healthy Pet Products with 3 locations in the Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania area, and recently expanded to Port Charlotte, Florida.
Welcome to the show.
Hi, and welcome back to another episode of Toni Unleashed. This is part 2 from Zoe's house. We interviewed Kendal, a board member from Zoe's House foster-based rescue based in Lancaster County, and they rescue a lot of puppies and mothers and not very well cared for dogs that are in puppy mills. And she is enlightening us as to what it's all about. And we had a very long episode with her because there's so much to learn about the horror of puppy mills. So that we broke it up into 2 episodes. And last week's episode is obviously the first, and this is the second. So here we go for episode 2 with Zoe's House Rescue.
How long has Zoe's been around?
12 years, she said.
Oh, you said 12. Okay.
Yeah, I think 12. Yeah.
And how many fosters do you have?
Personally? Or
like like foster families. Like how many?
Oh, okay. So our volunteer network is about 300 people. Now, Not all of them are active though. That's everyone that's in our approved volunteer group. Mm-hmm. Some just do clerical stuff. We have in rescue at a time probably around 70 to 80 dogs. So at all times, we have about 70 to 80 dogs. We typically keep it around that 77 range, which is purely a coincidence. It just seems to be how it happens. So that's kind of our benchmark.
Wow.
And then we have about 20 available at all times because we have some long-term ones that have been on there. And then when we do intake, we usually intake about 10 to 15 at a time. So we just discussed yesterday as a board potentially closing intake because we have a dog right now. Our biggest medical case, Milo, is at Pet Emergency in Lancaster. And I'm actually going there after this to sit with him for a little bit. We don't know what's wrong with him. We got a call from Pet Emergency. They asked us if we could take ownership of this dog. It's a vet. It's one of our vets that we work with. They have like rotating vets that sub in, and I work with her somewhere else. So she asked if we could take him. We thought he might just have parvo. We just really weren't sure. Originally, they were like, oh, he just has something in his stomach. He ate something he shouldn't have. He's been there now since Saturday, and our bill is $15,000 already. And he has not improved at all. He's had 8 parvo tests, all negative, but he's like displaying all parvo signs. It's insane. Every vet is stumped. There's been like 7 vets consulted at this point, and no one has any idea what's going on.
And they charge you for all of that, even though the vets ask you to take him?
Yeah, because they have a new policy now too, which is they're one of our really good vet partners. Pet Emergency in Lancaster is really great because not only are they an emergency department, but they have specialties that come in. So when we need an oncologist, when we need a dermatologist, they have it all there on rotating days of the month. So that's kind of nice. But they're high prices. I mean, their specialty and their emergency. They are technically not the ones that called me though. The vet that I am friends with because of the rescue called me. So they don't really owe us a favor is the way that they look at it. Yeah. It's a tough line, and they give us a discount. Don't get me wrong. Like we do get a hefty discount, but even with our discount, we're probably at $13,000.
Is Milo a puppy or an adult?
He's a 10-month-old black lab who we have no medical history on because the people that surrendered him took him, only had him for 30 days because they was their friends, and he went to jail. This dog has never seen a vet before.
Drugs? Do you think that the dog has the toxology reports?
I don't think so because we've done 1 million blood tests. His blood is normal. That's the crazy thing. Like nothing is showing up bad other than labored breathing and just like he's vomiting like pure liquid, or he's vomiting every single thing he eats and he's having pure liquid diarrhea and it's like green. So they have no idea. But the people who had him really care about him. I mean, they've been messaging our Facebook daily. They want updates. Like they felt bad because they took this dog for their friend and what person can just randomly afford 13 grand at a specialty vet, let alone for a dog that's not even yours?
Well, thankfully they even took them to the vet, because people are scared to take dogs to the vet in those situations.
Yep. It is. It's scary. I can't even tell you the amount of times I've been in pet emergency with a rescue dog and I watch Amish come in with one of their dogs that's having issues and they'll be like, just euthanize, we're done.
Oh, I'm surprised
and
that
in
they don't
that
just shoot them.
situation, so I did that happen one time. I asked, I forget what I was picking up a golden retriever mama and I just asked like, hey, are there any medical issues with her? Like, I just, like to be prepared. And he was like, oh no, but she has these sores on her leg. And then he literally, like, she was standing, grabbed her by her back legs and flipped her over onto the gravel so I could look at her stomach. And my ex was with me at the time and he's so non-confrontational and he was ready to go. And I was like, no. So then I got the dog up and like my ex-husband, like, put him in the car immediately. He was like, let's get her in the car. Like, we don't, like, thank you so much. Goodbye. And then as we're leaving, I was like, thanks for calling us again. Like, if you need us, we're here. We'll take medical, doesn't matter. We'll do whatever. And he was like, thanks. You saved me from having to dig a 6-foot hole. And then walked away. And I'm like, okay. And then I had one guy say, thanks, you saved, or he said, I wouldn't waste a bullet. I would just use a shovel. One time I showed up and I was getting 3 dogs and he was like, oh, if you just would have come a couple minutes earlier, you could have had those 3, and pointed to a burning trash pile where I could see bones. Like, it's the things that we see, like, and like, all I want to do is punch them in the face. Like, all I want to do. I'm very confrontational. My ex and I were complete opposites. And I have to just like compose myself and just say,
so
okay.
How, this is where my brain goes, because they're supposed to be
peaceful
and God rearing. And so
their property. They don't look at them like life. They are property. Same as their horses. I mean, that's another big thing in this area is people really advocate for Amish horses because they are treated so horribly. And I don't know a lot about that. I'm not well educated in that. Yeah. But if it's anything like the dogs, I cannot even fathom what it's like.
But the horses, I mean, the dogs earn the money. The horses get them around. So they probably put a little more care. Who the fuck knows?
It's all you could justify it either way. Yeah. It's all bad.
Yeah.
It's all bad.
Yeah.
So, going back to your applications real quick and how many you get, what about Sky, Shaq, Georgia, Leah, and Emmett, your long-term dogs? Why don't they have 50, 30 applications in for them?
Sure. So those kill me because they are some of the best dogs and they just don't, for reasons in themselves, they have weird qualifications. They don't photograph well. Like Georgia, she's high energy and she could probably benefit from being an only dog home, but we would consider another dog in the home as long as it's the right match. But she doesn't photograph well. She's a black, hairy dog. We can't get these beautiful pictures of her like we can. And quite frankly, up until recently, we haven't done a good job promoting some of our long-term residents. When you're constantly seeing doodle after doodle on our site, these Chihuahua or mixes or Shaq is a Mastiff, like they're just not getting the attention. Like they're drowned out by all of these fluffs, you know? Sky specifically is a high medical case. So she is the sweetest dog. If I did not already have a lot going on, I would have been adopting her. She was a mama that came in, had a litter of puppies, but her legs were completely jacked, like completely inward, just awful. This poor dog, I don't even know how she got around. So we did 2 surgeries on her back end, and I'm not medical versed, so I won't even try to explain what we did, but we did 2 knee surgeries or hip surgeries, and it fixed her enough to make her more comfortable. She still looks, her legs still look ridiculous, quite frankly. I don't know. It's one of those situations where if we didn't do it, we would have always wondered if she could have been better off, or if we did do it, like we did do it and we're wondering if it was worth it. Like, but she has no limitations. Like, I was just at her foster home the other day for a cookout and she was just sprinting around the yard. She is the sweetest
No
Great
wheelchair,
Dane.
nothing.
Nope.
So she was probably inbred with the inward.
Absolutely.
With the inward.
What kind of dog is she?
Yeah.
feet.
She's a Great Dane.
Oh.
So,
and
and
it's
she
big.
had a full litter of puppies and all of her puppies are also messed up. So we adopted them all out as like, this is what you see is what you get. We did not, I mean, we don't guarantee health things anyway, but that was a big one is we were like, listen, this is the mom, you see her genetic issues.
Wow.
Kind of, you know, we don't know what could happen. And 2 of her puppies stayed with friends and family of the rescue. And the one is, I just saw her at the same cookout and she is in rough shape. But the other one is okay. But Sky is the sweetest dog. And actually, we do have some good news. She might be getting adopted this weekend, which is amazing. And I'm so excited.
Wow.
Emmett is, he's a Chihuahua mix. He's a pit and a Chihuahua mixed together. So needless to say, he's not everyone's highest priority of adoption. He's kind of just one of those dogs that you need to find someone who like loves little assholes. and that's what I've been trying to market him as. I did a Tinder profile for him to try to get some traction and it didn't take off the way I needed it to, but I know there's someone out there because I just had one of those. I had a Chihuahua Griffon mix and she would bite me on a daily basis. And I adopted her to a woman who literally sends me her bite updates because she thinks it's hilarious.
Oh,
and she's not hurting anyone,
right.
but like, that's what I need. Like, I need someone like that woman for Emmett. So we know there's people out there. It's harder. They're just not getting the traction that these doodles are getting. To be honest, I don't know much about Leia. She's a great peer. So she's a farming dog and she's like meant to protect a farm. So she needs a very specific lifestyle. And I think that's kind of our flaw, like our problem there is there's just not a lot of that available. And then Shaq is just a big lug. So we need someone with mastiff experience and like someone with strong breed experience. He's amazing. He's so stinking cute. And he went to a board and train. So he's now like a very, very, very well-trained dog, but he's like 160 pounds and thinks he's 20 pounds. Yeah. So he's amazing, but a lug.
Who are fostering these dogs? Are these people who are fostering them like breed? Is the Great Pyrenees person like? Do they know Great Pyrenees really well and have a farm? Like, who has all of these dogs?
Yeah, so most of the dogs do go to people. If we have outside of like the doodles and the Yorkies and all the like the calves, they can pretty much be fostered by anyone. Obviously, we do have people that specialize in things. So like the girl that Shaq is with, she's on our board. She's behavioral certified. She loves strong breeds. Like that's her niche. Oh, so wow. He's been with her the whole time. She pulled him into rescue from, I think he was from a puppy mill actually. So she wanted him. That's her vibe. Sky is a Great Dane. Great Danes can pretty much be fostered by anyone also. You just have to like big dogs. But she is with, she used to be she was one of our chairs, our fundraising chair. So actually the girl who has Sky, Georgia, and Emmett, we call her our long-term chair because she somehow gets stuck with all these dogs that are in foster for so long. But she loves them. So that's probably why she's not promoting them enough because she loves them. She's had them forever. And then Leia, I don't know much about her situation. She's not on a farm because we don't have someone with the right setup to foster her, but I know that she's getting exercise and like stimulated in the way that she should be because we've been working with that foster to make sure that she's like, that we can know her quirks because she is, I've been told, I haven't met her, but I've been told that she is like a quirky dog in the sense of like really would thrive in a big open area. So we've been working on that a little bit more lately. I need to get an update on her.
So Kendal, why don't you tell us your most horrific story?
I mean, I would say the trash pile is probably the worst.
What trash pile?
With the burning dogs when I got there and there were like burning dogs in the trash. Personally, some of the mats that we see are
No.
just so bad. Like, these dogs will show up matted to their skin and like
And
not
shit
able to
in the
move.
mat. Shit
Oh,
impact the
everything
dirt,
in the
the
mat.
urine.
Everything in the mat. And we always make jokes too, because these dogs are like malnourished and barely fed
Yeah.
every day except the day we pick them up. It's like they decide to feed them the day we pick them up, and then they vomit
Oh.
the entire car ride. The entire car ride. We were up in Millersburg.
Uh-huh.
I did a run in Millersburg like maybe a year
Isn't that
ago
where
now,
Dad's
and I
is?
picked up
Pet food?
Millersburg.
Yeah.
I was
No, it's an M.
I don't know.
It's not Millersburg.
I was gonna say that's like up your way ish, right?
Ish. It's between
Ish,
us.
yeah.
It's
I mean,
between.
it's farm from me, yeah. And my girlfriend and I picked up 18 dogs, and we packed them into my 7-seater Volvo that I had just bought a week before,
no.
mind you.
Oh, no.
And I am not kidding when I tell you, like, that 2.5-hour ride home was like the worst 2.5 hours of my life.
Yeah.
Just vomit and
Yeah.
poop everywhere.
Yeah.
And it was pouring. So it's also like wet dog smell on top of vomit and puke. We're driving with the windows down, getting soaked. Like, yeah, we've seen some crazy stuff. And even the people can be kind of sketchy. So I remember when I first started doing pickups, the president of the rescue was like, you should really get your like carry permit. 'Cause it gets sketchy. And I was like, oh, that's silly. And then last year was the first time where I was like, oh, I'm not going alone anymore. I got on the phone with this guy, and he was telling me about the dogs that I was picking up. And he started asking me questions about myself. Like, are you married? What do you look like? Why don't you have kids yet? And I was like, oh, I am like not going to this farm alone. So when I got there, he was like, you have great birthing hips. And I was like, I'm out. Like, I'm out.
Ew,
I'm
ew,
out.
ew.
Like, that's my biggest fear. Like, I'm scared they're going to chain me in the basement to like repopulate, like to clean the bloodlines. Like, I'm like, nope. I won't go alone anymore. And if I do, it's to a farm I've already been
And
to.
he was
and I, like, sort of
legitimately
know them.
Amish?
Wait, not only was he legitimately Amish, this is the best part. He was in a velour tracksuit.
Ew.
Like a Juicy Couture
No.
velour.
Ew. Pass. People are
But
gross.
like, you knew he was Amish. Like, you could see the like,
Yeah.
oh, it was wild. And luckily my ex was with me, and he was like, get in the car. Like, let's go. That was actually, so the most horrific experience of fostering for me was that specific dog that I picked up, which really checks out, all things considered, because he was double marrow. So that's something I'm super
deaf and
passionate
blind?
about. Yes. So double marrow is basically when two dogs with the marrow gene are bred together, and you get a lot of defects.
And it's hard too, because double marrows, sometimes some dogs don't show obviously as marrow. You might find the marrow trait maybe like underneath a paw, under their belly and their armpit. And so breeders may not know that they're marrow, but they actually are. And it is fucked up. And also, just going to throw this in real quick, not every breed should be marrow. There's very specific breeds that marrow is allowed in the breed. Poodles, not one. American bullies, also not one.
The one that everybody's going after.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's scary because 1 in 4 dogs have issues when you breed double marrows together. And if it's not 1 in 4, it's one that gets all of the issues. And that was Gordo. So he's like the foster that can still make me cry. I had him for like 4 months, and he was a white poodle. Yeah. Like a small little white poodle. He had no eyes. He was completely deaf. He had hydrocephalus. Like, everything about him was a mess. And he was petrified of people. Like, for the first week, we could not touch him. I gated off anything that he could hurt himself with. And I just let him walk around my house and do whatever he needed to do till he got comfortable. And then eventually, like, he became the sweetest dog. To the point where I had an adopter for him. I found some woman in Kentucky, which is way outside of our range, but we'll make exceptions for like special needs and special situations. She has a whole pack of double marrow dogs of all breeds. She has a pitty that's a double marrow, an Aussie that's a double marrow. Like, she was adorable. Like her and I were the best of friends. She was going to come up and meet him, stay overnight, make sure he would fit. And he started going downhill, and like you could just tell something was just off with him. And I went away for a weekend, and I think coming home was when I like saw him clearly. I stepped away because he had been with me for so long that he was my dog. Like I couldn't see him as a foster mom anymore or a medical person anymore. I saw him as my dog. So I think walking away and coming back, I was like, oh, okay, it's time. So I ended up having to put him to sleep. And that was by far the most trial, like it took the biggest toll on me out of all my foster dogs. We took him to Penn in Philly to see the neuro several times. He saw every specialist you could imagine just because we wanted to rule it out. Like now I'm a lot more educated on double Merle, so I don't even know if I would go the neurologist route anymore because I have so many. I learned so much from him that we can kind of skip paying for a neurologist and go right to this med or go right to this med. Like that is kind of one nice thing about rescue is you deal with so many of the same things that you can kind of just treat instead of getting a diagnosis, which I know is hard for a lot of people because a lot of people don't realize that like spending the money to hear a vet tell you that's the diagnosis is only making you feel better. It's not making the dog feel better. If you can just treat the issue immediately. So that's something we often struggle with too. And I had a really similar situation. I picked up a poodle. I named her Havarti. I'm on a cheese kick. So I had mozzarella, Havarti, Romano, and I have ricotta right here on my lap. But we considered her hospice because she had hydrocephalus and CH, CH is really uncommon in dogs. It's really common in cats. They're the cats that kind of walk all like wonky. They can't control their actions. So we adopted her out as hospice, knowing these issues and treating her the same way we kind of treated Gordo. But she's in her foster home. So she's in her adoptive home, actually doing well.
For hospice dogs, how does that work? Do you let them go on their own? When do you make the call? How long do you decide to pay for them to stay alive?
It's completely dog dependent. So Havarti and Bubba are two of our hospice cases that we ended up adopting out because even though they're hospice, they were still potentially could live 3 years, 4 years. Like you have no idea. Every vet that saw Havarti said you could wake up tomorrow and she could be dead in her crate, or she could live 3 years of exactly how she is right now, like fine, just spinning a lot. So in those situations, and with Gordo, it was different. Like he was very special. Like you knew he was sick. You knew there was something wrong with him. You knew he needed special attention. With Bubba, Bubba had a heart condition. And then with Havarti, she would spin, but not all the time. So Havarti would be like sleeping on my couch with my dogs, running around the house with my dogs, going in and out to the bathroom by herself, like very self-sufficient. She would just get overstimulated and start spinning. In those situations, it's really hard to say like, okay, she's hospice, so she could potentially stay with me for 3 years, or do I give her a home where someone's going to dote all over her and just fully disclose, listen, you could wake up tomorrow and she could be gone, or you could have her for 3 years.
And you found someone that understood that?
Yeah. So I don't know the specifics of Bubba's adopters, but Havarti, since she was with me specifically, actually went to one of our groomers who volunteers her time to groom for us. She is in vet tech school. So like no better person because she'll have the love of someone who
but also has the science mind to know
the medical knowledge. Yes. And connection to vets. She has a vet teacher. She's in a vet program, like people that can like give her advice and give their opinion.
She could be an example for other people of like,
yeah, exactly.
This is what happens.
Oh, it's adorable. Her dad, so she still lived at home, which I was fine with. When it comes to a case like that, like the more people that can love on the dog, the better. And he was like, I don't think I should let her get her another dog. And I'm like, okay, like you guys let me know. She sent me a picture of her dad's Facebook profile the other day. His profile picture is Havarti laying on him. And then his like cover photo is them like doing a professional like pose. It's so funny. I was like, this is amazing. Like, this is why I do what I do is to see this. Like the dad who was being a hard ass is now like posing with this dog.
Yeah.
So Kendal, why don't you explain the spinning and why?
Yeah, so hydrocephalus is when there is too much fluid on the brain, and most of the time there's also an open fentella. So that also can cause a problem because the skull's not closed. So if, God forbid, there's a blunt trauma to that, it's kind of instant death. Now, I didn't really stress that with Gordo because he was already so sick. And there was a part of me kind of that knew he wouldn't have a full life the whole time. So I really let him just rage. I mean, he was a wild dog and just loved life up until the end. And I didn't want to stop any of that. I didn't want him to live in a bubble for the little time he had. I would rather him go out because he was raging with my dogs and fell down the steps than live in a crate his entire life.
Yep.
So that's the way I looked at it with him. Now, there are so many things you can do to like keep them safe. So helmets, I know that the girl who adopted Havarti is looking into a helmet, but her skull is actually almost closed. So her vet didn't even think she needs it anymore. And sometimes that will happen. So with Gordo, we didn't want it to close because there was so much fluid on his brain that if it would have closed, it would have pushed harder on his brain. Whereas, so with him, it kind of helped him that it was open. With Havarti, she had very minimal fluid on her brain. So it closing was actually a good thing and would probably keep her safer. So every case is different.
And
Are these Cavaliers?
Havarti was a straight poodle, which I was not convinced. I thought she looked like a mix, but they just did a DNA test on her and she came back as poodle. Gordo was a poodle. Bubba was a Rottweiler, but that was a heart condition. We had another poodle mix that also had hydro. Hydro's pretty common around here because of all the inbreeding.
I was going to ask,
so we see a lot of we see a lot of hydrocephalus. We see a lot of heart issues. We've done lots of heart surgeries.
And this is hydrocephalus you see from inbreeding. What about heart conditions?
I mean, all of it can be attributed to poor breeding.
Yeah.
That's just what it is. They're not genetic testing. Like moms could have recessive genes of things. I actually took 2 double barrel Cocker Spaniels, which not my favorite breed, but I had 2 of those. One was completely blind and deaf and the other was just deaf. And she knew, like she called me and she was one of the more decent breeders. Actually, that one was up your way too, I think. I don't remember where that was, but I will say she only bred Cockers. It's really hard because when I say decent is not decent, but it's decent compared to the awful that I've seen.
Yeah.
But she was a decent breeder and she admitted it right away. She was like, I made a mistake. I should have never let them breed together. I didn't realize this one was Merrill. Like she knew what double Merrill was. But then 6 months later, she's like, oops, I did it again. Can you take these? And I was like, and we said at that point, we were like, we will only take the sick puppy if you also give us the Merrill mom. And she did. So in that case, we were a little bit more of a hard ass, but it was easier to be a little more aggressive because I had seen her farm and I knew that she only bred Cockers. And I also knew that she was not the type to just chuck a dog in a pile. So that like in those situations, like if we know them, we will say like, okay, listen, you have to at least give us the mom, or you have to guarantee us the mom when she's done nursing, or, you know, whatever the situation is. We will always push when we can without risking them never calling us again. And we will never tolerate abuse in front of us. So there was a situation where I went to pick up a golden doodle and they were all outside and they were all excited, like normal dogs trying to see people. And the woman was just like punching these dogs to get them to go back in. And that was the first time where I literally like shoved her and I was like, I will do it. Like, I will do it. Go walk away. And my sister was with me and she was like horrified. It was the first run I had ever taken her on. And she was like, are you like you? I was like, I only talk to them like that if they're abusing. You're not going to abuse an animal in front of me. Like you don't have to be the best person ever, but you will not abuse an animal in my sight. Like I won't let that happen.
Wow.
Whew. Fundraisers. How can the public help?
How can our listeners help Zoe's?
So definitely fundraisers for sure. Anyway, if you know, we have an Amazon wish list. We always have fundraisers on our Facebook. we also can use clerical help. So even if you're 6 hours away and can't foster or really can't come to events, we need help calling references, calling vets, keeping our kennel log up to date, writing thank you notes. We try, anyone who donates over like $100, I think we try to get a handwritten thank you note too. So we need help from people that you can do from your living room. We need people that will jump on a FaceTime call quick to do a home visit, even just scanning, like looking over apps to tell us if it's good. Pickups, if we ever have a pickup in your area and you can meet us halfway, like you go to the farm, grab the dog, we'll come to Harrisburg and meet you, like that kinds of stuff. Really, we need all the help we can get. The biggest thing now is fundraisers. I would love to have a dedicated fundraising chair. And that's the big thing where we're lacking, is because we're in Berks, because we're in Lancaster, we kind of need one in each area. And it's a lot to take on, but
Sorry. I was going to ask, for fosters, what is the mile radius that you accept foster volunteers?
Yeah. So our big thing is we really try to keep everyone as close as possible, but as long as you're willing to drive to one of our pre-approved vet partners, and as long as you know that any of the supplies that we have in rescue, you are expected to pick up and not charge the rescue for, we don't care. So we have some fosters that live like an hour and a half away, and they've agreed to the fact that they have to come to Lancaster or Berks to get their dog when they foster it. They have to come to one of our vet partners, whether that's in Lancaster, whether it's York, whichever one the closest one is to them. And then if they leave that vet appointment and they need carprofen or they need Metro or Panicure or just any kind of meds of something we can have in house, then they have to get it from us, that they're expected to come to one of our houses to get it. So that's kind of our rule. We've been a little more selective lately just because we have had some people that like don't realize that it's not just one run to the vet. Like we don't guarantee a foster what you're getting. Like we'll tell you there are 3 healthy Bernedoodle puppies that are coming in, but you have no idea what's going to show up when you get to a puppy mill. We do our absolute best. And like we ask as many questions as we can on the phone. But I was also told that Gordo, my blind, deaf, and hydro hospice puppy, was just blind. And he was like on his deathbed when I got him. So you just really don't know. So I think people don't always realize that. But as long as you're willing to do what's asked of you, we don't really care. I would say an hour from our one of our vet partners is probably the safest option. But also keeping in mind that the specialists that we work with are in Lancaster and Philly. So that's kind of tough too. But we're also okay with going to other specialists if you have connections. So if you have someone who's willing to give you, or even other vets, the same discount that we get at our pre-approved vets, that's fine. We don't care what vet you go to as long as we're not paying any more than we would here, basically.
Cool. And then are fosters responsible for picking adopters?
Yeah, so that's actually something that's a little different about our rescue that I think a lot of people like is the foster home really gets the final say. You live with that dog, you know that dog. I don't know anything about that dog other than what you tell me. I don't want to pick that home. Like, you know that dog better than anyone else. So we have the board, we have our 4 board members, and then we have a team of coordinators. So that's kind of a way to ensure that there's always at least 2 eyes on every app. But basically all the applications will come in and the coordinators will kind of trim them down. So if there's 30, they'll pick the top 5, or if there's, we'll give as many as we can to the adopter, and then ultimately they get to run with it. The coordinator helps and like bounces ideas back and forth, but ultimately that dog is in your house and you're the best person to decide its family.
Love that. Can fosters end up keeping their dogs?
They can, yes. So our only rule with that is that you cannot adopt your first dog, because a lot of people we noticed during COVID skipped the line by becoming a foster. And when all these dogs were hot commodities, people would apply to foster and then they would keep their dog. And it's not that I'm against that, because ultimately the dog's in a good home, but we do a lot of work to get fosters approved, and it's not a big process, but it's work, and we train them and we have all these resources for them. And it's just a lot of effort to put into someone who's going to take their dog and run.
Yeah.
So we don't allow you to fail on your first one. Now there's always exceptions. There's always people that are like jump in head first that like we know are not going anywhere that we'd probably make that exception for. But then we still see the people that are like doing it for that. However, we would never not take a dog for that reason. So like just literally last month, we had the perfect example. We couldn't get fosters for these 3 lab puppies. And someone commented and said, hey, I haven't fostered in 2 years. This would count as my first foster again, because we have a 2-year rule. I'm going to, like, if I foster it, I'm probably going to keep it, but keep me in mind. And we couldn't find anyone else. So we gave her the dog. If we're not going to let a dog sit in a puppy mill just to not let, just to keep our rule, that's obviously absurd.
Right.
So there are always exceptions, and we just try to do what's in the best interest of the dogs at all times.
All right. Kendal, tell us website, social media handles, best way to get a hold of you guys.
Yes. So our website is where you can find our adoptable dogs. It's where you can find some of our merchandise. That is just zoeyshouserescue.com. It's where you can find all of our applications. So to apply for each dog individually, we do not keep applications on file. So you have to choose the dog that you'd like to apply for. I know that's inconvenient. We're working on it. You can volunteer. We have a volunteer only application. So that's for clerical. That's basically if you're not within our radius. We have a foster application that you can use on that site. And then we also have our surrender form. So if you need to surrender a dog, you can find that there. We also have that pulled through into Pet Finder. And that's where you can also stumble upon our dogs. So that's kind of like an API pull. So we are on Pet Finder. And then we have a Facebook, which is Zoe's House Rescue, which is basically our main form of communication to everyone. We do post dogs there, but then ultimately it drives you to our website. We did have an Instagram, and I think I trashed the Amish too much in one of my live videos, and they shut us down. So
I was looking for your Instagram.
We went on a run one day where we had to rush a dog to pet emergency. They called us about a dying puppy, and I went live the entire time. And I really wasn't saying anything horrible, but I think I was probably being a little too blunt, and I was driving. So like, I wasn't really like structuring my speak. And then the next day our Instagram was just gone. And it was set up like way before I was with the rescue. So I had no idea how to find all the login stuff. And Instagram does not play. Like if they shut you down, you cannot get it back. It is impossible.
That's hilarious.
I was so upset. I was like crying. I was like, I worked so hard. And it's like the one thing that I've been really passionate about is trying to get our Instagram active. And now it's just gone. So one day when I have the will in me, I will get us an Instagram again. If anyone wants to volunteer to set up an Instagram, that's actually, I'll take that. Apply to be a volunteer and you can run our Instagram, please. And I think that's all we have. We post some TikToks, but like it's typically made on our personal accounts. And then we just share them to our Facebook.
Okay. But yeah. So basically website, Facebook is Zoe's House Rescue, and Zoe is spelled Zoe.
Yep.
Okay. Anything else you want to say before we sign off, Kendal?
No, I really appreciate the time. I think stuff like this is so important.
Yeah.
And just getting our name out there, educating about puppy mills and how to avoid them. I know we didn't go into like a really clear list of what to look for, but I think most importantly, it's a wait list, breed standards, and not Lancaster County.
Yeah. And anytime if you guys have an event, I would be willing to drive down to Lancaster and do a Toni Unleashed table or toy thing. So keep us in mind.
Puppy Mill Awareness Day. That's the time you need to do it. That is a full event where we have a million vendors and people, and it's right down the street from my house. It's such a good event.
Yes.
Highly recommend.
Can you send us like the sign up form or just email me all that information afterwards?
Yeah, absolutely. Great. Yeah, I'll send it to you guys.
Kendal, thanks for everything that you do. Keep going. Yes. Keep going.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you for getting in the rescue world.
Yeah.
Whew. I don't know what I would do with all my free time.
Yeah. We'll talk again soon.
Yeah.
Bye for now. Bye. Thanks, Kendal. We want to give a big shout out to our sound engineer, Brad, from Beacon Sound Systems, LLC. This is the highest quality sound editing, and he knows exactly what to edit. So it's his fault the F-bombs are still in there. You can reach Brad for all your sound editing needs through
Instagram and Facebook. You'll follow at Beacon Sound Systems. Website, www.4beaconsound.com. Phone number, 724-471-2410.
Beacon Sound is a locally owned company in our neck of the woods here in Pittsburgh, PA. So if you're in need of large LED screens, stages, lighting, or sound systems for any occasion, big or small, this is the company for you.
Sounds like a party in one.
And boy, do we need one.